Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. We are recording on here. I'll cut all this out. Here we go. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Steve Hand. He is the Executive Director of Business Network International. BNI, as it's known, is the world's leader in word-of-mouth marketing with more than 245,000 members in 80 countries. Steve's a passionate teacher and ambassador for the power of referral-based sales. Steve is also one of the best-selling authors of the book Building the Ultimate Network, which provides cutting-edge ideas from experts around the world about how to develop productive relationships for business success. Steve's been an entrepreneur all his life, and we're going to get into this, but he bought a car at the age of 11. And as he shared with me, none of them were old enough to drive, but sold rides to other kids, turning a handsome profit at the end of the summer. And we got to get into that story. So Steve, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. So yeah, I didn't think of that as a business. I mean, it's way back when. It's just what you did. I was a kid. So, but it really was my second business, if we get official on it. My first business was a paper route.
Sure.
And in those days, you couldn't do it today, but in those days, they sold the papers to me for 8 cents a piece. They had the customers, I delivered them, I collected, and I made 10 cents a piece, and then I gave them the 8. So, and that was fine. So after I got off the school bus, grabbed the newspapers, delivered them, had a great time. And then on Sunday mornings, the same paper came out at 3:30 in the morning, which was not a big deal to me. It's what you do. So I just got up and did it, right? And that was going along fine. But the kid in the next neighborhood hated those Sunday deliveries. He was never on time. He was always late. Everybody's upset. And so he and I sat and why don't we just split it down the middle? I'll deliver both Sunday routes and you deliver Monday through Saturday, and then we'll just split it. And that's what we did. It worked out really, really well. So now he's working 6 days a week. I'm working 1. We're basically split it down the middle. Now, he could keep all the tips. I didn't care about that. But that was our process. It went well. And then another kid said, I want to do the same thing. So before long, I had about 7 or 8 of these Sunday morning routes, and it was too big for me to do myself. So I hired my friends. I didn't know it was hiring at that time, but I hired my friends. And the way it was, we got up delivering the papers, and the way I paid them, my mother had been a waitress, so she taught me how to tip. So I brought them all breakfast at Howard Johnson. That was so by then I was about 10 or 11. So here's this 10-year-old kid coming in with about 6 or 7 others saying, breakfast is on me. And so that was our process. That's how we paid them. And in the same street where the papers got dropped off, I had a good friend. He was like 14 and driving age in New York was 16. And so we were thinking about getting a car that we could work on and tune the engine. And so about 5 of us went in. So I was a 20% owner of a little Hillman Minx. It's like a Cooper, Mini Cooper, 3 sticks, 3 speed on the column. And we did a lot of work on the engine, but we really loved driving it. I mean, that was just so much fun. Let me tell you, that was great fun. So it had a pretty long driveway. So the deal was you could sit in the middle of the back seat for a nickel. You get a window seat for a dime, 25 cents for the front passenger seat, and for 50 cents, we taught you how to drive and let you take it up and down the driveway 3 times. So, when we got that thing rolling, the first thing we do was take the mailbox out because it wasn't going to survive. We wound up reseeding the guy's lawn across the street a couple times. But by the time the summer was out, we could have bought 2 or 3 of those cars if we could find somebody that could sell them for quarters and nickels and dimes. So that was, and again, I didn't think of it as being an entrepreneur. It's just doing what you're doing as a kid, having a good time. And we did have a really good time with that. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So I've been that way my whole life.
Yeah. I don't want to get into kids these days, sound like the old geezer.
Right.
But I don't know that and maybe it's because I live in a more metropolitan area, but I don't know if they have those same opportunities. My first thing was selling night crawlers. We would go to the golf course. I had free labor. My parents would take me there, my brother and sister, and when it rained, they'd be out by the thousands.
Right. Yeah.
And we'd pick them, and I had to stay at home pretty much all summer, because people would stop by, and 35 cents a dozen, 3 dozens for $1 or something like that. And it was good. It was good.
Yep.
So I guess, let's get into your story as to how you got into becoming involved with BNI.
Sure.
And, many people listening here know that AmSpirit and BNI we're essentially competitors. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as you guys legitimize what I do. Whenever I talk to somebody and they say, hey, what is it you do? You ever heard of BNI? If the answer is no, it's like, yeah, I'm just a professional speaker, because I don't even want to try and explain it, because
that's right.
I feel like I'm selling snake oil. So
right.
I'm certainly fond of what you do and appreciate it. And so anyhow, please share the story. I know you have with me, but I think it's very it's inspiring.
Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, and another story people like to hear is how I met my wife. A friend of mine and I started a radio and television advertising business as a way to meet girls. And it worked very, very well. So we did maybe a dozen commercials. That wasn't our big thing, but we did hundreds of casting parties. And that's where I met Shirley, and the rest is history there. But she really was nervous about me being an entrepreneur. She wanted me to get a job, which was fine. I did. So at that point, computers were just becoming a thing. There was something potentially there. So I took a 6-month computer course, went into that, really enjoyed it. And make a long story short, many years later, Squibb moved me down here to North Carolina. And, I was running a big department with manufacturing company. It was great process. And after about 3 or 4 years, my job went to Florida. Fine by me. Here's what they look for is any company that was making $100 million or less, the small ones, that's the kind of thing that I would service, right? And so I had one down in Florida they had just acquired and wanted that switched over, and I was fine with it. But my wife had just gotten used to being in North Carolina, and the kids were little. So I said, it really isn't going to make sense. So they gave me a nice severance package, which was great. I took the summer off, and I don't do the let's look for a job and go. I went looking for what I was good at. I found companies that had my position, and I looked if they had more than 5 people doing what I was doing, and I found 13 of them. All I had to do was become the 76th person. If I can't sell slot number 76, I'm not a salesman anyway, right?
Right.
Or one of those 75, something's in their life and I replace them. So I just went after those 13 companies, and it took me about a month and a half, and I wound up getting 3 interviews on the same day, the first day of my interviews. And that was September 11th, 2001. The whole world changed. We thought it was World War III. We didn't know what was going to be happening. So I knew I had to do something different. So I remembered seeing network marketing in the past. If there's something to it, I can do it. Just get me through to the spring or whatever. And it got me back into being an entrepreneur. I loved it. So I'm back in there. And my second customer, he was a forensic psychologist, and he was a BNI member. And he said, come on out. And to me, it was a no-brainer. How many of these can I join? Well, right. You can only join one. And I didn't realize the importance, but I get it now. And I was number 1 in the country week after week after week, because the company came out with a small business plan. People didn't know about it. They were cautious. I just jumped right in, and BNI got me in a great shape with that. So that was the process. And I noticed that the people that ran the region did it for about a year, and then they were gone. First guy got divorced, all kinds of stuff happened. He was gone. Second guy was a business coach. He said, I'll do it for a year, but if it interferes, I'm gone. And he was about a year to the day, and he stopped. And the third guy who had been there, by this time it was about 14 months. He was getting a little shaky. He had 4 kids, young kids. He lived at the beach. He didn't want to come all the way into Raleigh area, especially not Durham. So his heart really wasn't in it. You know what I mean? At that point. So I went to the owner and said, I think I can probably help you out. I'm here local. I like doing this. I'm good at it. And his question to me was, do you mean as an employee or as an owner? I said, own what? And a month later, I wrote the biggest check I ever wrote. We're off to the races. We've managed to set national records for starting chapters, world records for starting chapters. We've doubled the region every 5 years. Last year, our members did twice as much as they did the year before. I don't look at it every day, and I was thinking, what's going to be, I thought we did about 15 million. It was my guesstimate, right?
Yeah.
And let's do 21 million in 21. That'll be the mantra to get everybody going. And we did 12.9 in 2019. We did 24 and change in 2020. So it's all about building those relationships that are productive and powerful. And, I would do it for free, but I'm glad I get paid for it. But that's what it's all about. So,
yeah, sure. At what point did you realize that this networking thing? I mean, you got invited out to a group. Obviously, you were good in business. A lot of people are good in business, though, Steve, and they don't really ever kind of make that connection where it's like, oh my God, it's, as you just said, it's the relationships. And at what point did you realize, oh my gosh, it's really about these relationships? And do you remember that moment or?
Pretty quickly. Yeah, it froze up a little bit. So.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So hopefully you can see me now, right?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear
me? It just froze up a little bit.
Okay.
I can. I hear you just fine. So yeah,
okay.
The joys of technology, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the question is what point did you realize that, hey, it's the relationships?
Pretty quickly. So, I found that my customers were very good referral sources. Once I treated them properly, the service I sold to me was a gift. It was a no-brainer. But the thing was, if people treated like a fire extinguisher and didn't use it till their house was on fire, they never got the value of it. So I did all my efforts post-sales, teaching people how to use it. And once I taught them how to use it, once they got fluent with it, once I got comfortable with it, they knew people who needed it and were thrilled to introduce me. So the relationship really was the key over and over again, to the point that if you became one of my clients, then I found 3 other people that you need to meet, because you all like dogs, or you all like fishing, or you're all from Pittsburgh or whatever. And I would bring the 4 of us to lunch, my treat. We never talked about what I did, but it was a guarantee that I always got a lot of referrals from that event right there. But the main thing was, you met people that were, they're big golfers like you were. They knew where the big, great courses were, the fishing holes you talked about. They could really improve your life a lot. So
yeah, that's a great story. Not a story, it's a lesson. And it's one that is counterintuitive, that so many people just don't pick up on.
Yes.
I had this conversation on a podcast yesterday. Everybody I know could benefit by somebody else I know.
Yes.
And I have an endless treasure trove of opportunities that I can create. And
that's right.
Most people look at that and they just like, it sounds like just a lot of work. And no, it's a great investment that costs no money at all. Well, maybe lunch, right? Yeah, no money.
Exactly.
No money,
Exactly.
And
I could spend $400 on an ad and get nothing, but maybe tire kickers, which are time wasters. It's nobody's happy in that situation. But if I could put $40 into a lunch and do 10 of those lunches, it's going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
Yeah, there's so much to what Zig Ziglar said, is that you can get anything you want in life if you're willing to help enough other people get what they want.
Yes.
And
yes.
But again, it's counterintuitive to a lot of people. The analogy I use is, I have a lot of analogies, but people go to networking events, or they get involved in networking, and they look at it as that 6-inch putt, right?
Yes.
I'm going to come here. I hope somebody gives me this 6-inch putt. And when I tell people, networking is like golf. Except you're 415 yards away on a par 4 dog leg right, and you got to make it happen.
And it's a hole you've never played. You don't quite know what to expect. So
right. It might be 6 shots, it might be 4, it might be 12. But that's okay. Eventually, if you're persistent enough, it'll happen.
Yep.
If you could go back in time, talk to yourself senior year in high school.
Sure.
what advice would you give yourself? I'm not saying what advice would you take, because
Right.
you're 16, 17 years old, 18 years old. Chances are you're not going to take it. But
Well, it's really hard to say. The bottom line for me is really trust yourself, trust the process, be a student of the process, just continue to learn and develop. Be willing to make mistakes. That's what I tell my son. Same thing. Swing the bat, make it happen. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, is to really lean in and take as much from the experience as you possibly can. So
yeah. What are you a golfer? What do you do?
I used to be. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to be. Yeah. So yeah, but it's funny. I sort of set the golfs and clubs in the garage, and this business takes a lot. I found out why those people went a year and left. It's a lot of work.
It is.
But it's a lot of fun too. A lot of benefit from it. And so we were heading for the beach, and I thought, well, let me just throw the clubs in the back, and I'll get it out in the course and play a little bit. And I took them out of the bag, and the grips were just a wreck. It's been that long, so no problem. I'll make sure I get them re-gripped, and we'll be good to go. Have I re-gripped them yet? I have not. So it's
well,
it's just not for me anymore. So.
My story is similar in that I played. Once we started having kids, golf is, you can play a round of golf in 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
Great. But usually can't get a tee time till 11 o'clock. And then, you do the round. You got to have the obligatory glass of beer, cup of beer,
you
mug of beer.
Got to dissect the game and
have some fun. It just kills a whole day. And,
it does.
And so people like, and I've had golf outings. I've put on golf outings with AmSpirit where I'm too busy to go.
Yeah. I can't play.
Yeah. People, I get it. People probably look at you and say, what a great job Steve has. He just gets these groups together and, doesn't do anything. No.
Well, that was the plan, is that I would work it Monday through Thursday and golf all Friday. But of course that's, it just is, it's very consuming, but I definitely love it.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Huge difference.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Way. Any causes or charities you get behind?
Not a lot. I have a friend who's CDH is hers. It's congenital diaphragmatic hernia, which you've probably never heard of.
No.
But it's as common as cystic fibrosis. It's as common as spinal meningitis, and it's unknown. And what happens is babies are born, and nobody's figured out how to know which baby it's going to be, and there's a hole in the diaphragm.
Oh.
So with a hole in the diaphragm, life just does what it does. Our heart grows through there, the lungs grow through there, and as the baby grows, it closes up, and it's highly fatal. So, by the time the child's 6 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months old, there's not much you can do at that point. It's major surgery. So,
oh, geez.
So this woman does that. She's in Wake Forest, which is north of Raleigh, and every 19th of the month, I post something because it's been, London Towers put her colors up, or the Eiffel Tower, things like that. So, so that's probably the closest one to me. But also, I'm not really bothered by homelessness. I don't think it doesn't make sense in this country to have homelessness, but we do. So,
yeah.
So those are probably the two big ones. Yeah.
No, interesting. It's so if you don't golf, what do you do to get your mind off work? How do you relax?
I can't even wrap my head around that question.
Okay.
No, I like spending time with my wife. We really enjoy that a lot.
Good.
So I think I used to, like 103 days, maybe a little bit longer. It will be our 40th anniversary. So
that's
so we've been together a long time. She's my best friend, and
that's
so
good.
Any time to spend time with her is definitely what it's all about.
No, that's a good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
So we'll cut that clip out and and get it to her. What's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you? Listening here, they're in the Triangle area. They want to talk to you about BNI.
Yeah. The best way is to go to our website, and it's triangle, like the shape, TRIANGLE, BNI. You can see in the background there, BNI Business Network International, trianglebni.com. My contact is there. Direct emails to me is there. You'll find out all the chapters there. That's probably the best way, the easiest way. So
I will put that in the show notes for you. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, I appreciate your time today. This is fun.
Okay.
This is the second time we've talked, and I learned more, and I hope we get the opportunity to talk again. So
Thank you, Frank. I enjoyed it as well. So, and just to give a plug for you, that's a great book. Everybody should read your book. So,
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.